So I would like to welcome to the stage Keith Morrison. Keith Morrison has over 35 years of international experience in the resources sector with an accomplished background in strategy, finance, exploration, technology, global operations, capital markets, and corporate development. Welcome to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. Look forward to spending a few minutes with you, introducing you to North American Nickel, providing you an update on our activities in Greenland. And as I progress through the talk, I'll be dropping scale, and ultimately I'll take you into some technical updates on summer 2018 results and plans for the future. I'm going to try and figure out this control.
It's a PDF, so we will again need to use the actual keyboard.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go through. Quick introduction to NAN. We are a public Canadian company, junior company specifically committed to nickel sulphide exploration on a global basis. We're a little unusual in the past 5 or 10 years in the junior market in the fact that our capital structure, we have pretty committed shareholders with deep pockets and who are comfortable in counter-cyclical investment. Capital formation for base metal exploration in the last 5 or 10 years has been very restricted. It takes long-term patient shareholders to commit to project development and exploration during these kinds of markets. NAN's fortunate to have a large Australian private equity group called Sentient as a major shareholder, and last year we welcomed a company called CATL, which is a Chinese-based firm. They're the largest manufacturer of lithium-ion batteries for the Chinese automotive industry. So again, they're very sensitive to long-term secure nickel supply. So that puts us in a bit of a unusual position as a junior in the fact that we can be strategic, we can commit to long-term exploration projects in a market where a lot of companies can't. In managing exploration companies as a junior company, one of the key things is managing expectations. Managing expectations with your shareholders, your employees, stakeholders, local communities. In our business, you can't promise success. The ore body has to be in the ground in order to be found. What you can promise is a commitment to best practice. You can commit to hiring the best people. Best people know the appropriate types of data. They know the best ways to acquire it, and you have the ability to execute based on that data-driven culture. That would be a great description of NAN, and that tone starts at the top. Our chairman of our board, John Sabine, don't tell him I don't think he's here, but probably the best chairman I've ever worked with and a leading chairman in the industry. Another person I'd point out on our management team, Dr. Peter Lightfoot. For people that are in the nickel sulphide space, Peter's been a leading researcher and explorer for nickel sulfides on a global basis for the last 25 years. And he leads a team beneath him that on a cumulative basis probably has about 200 man-years of relevant nickel sulfide experience. So we're a small group, maybe 10 people in total, but with hundreds of man-years of nickel sulfide exploration experience. Corporate strategy, we believe because of the lack of investment in the nickel space, it's a great opportunity to acquire, explore, and advance nickel projects on a global basis. Again, applying a systematic data-driven process to de-risking assets. A couple of quick slides on the nickel market. NAN is obviously bullish on the long-term nickel pricing. Sorry, it's hard for me to see these things. I don't want to walk away from the mic because I know you can't hear me. Supply and demand curves, long-term. I'll maybe go to the next slide, maybe a bit clearer. But the supply is in the solid blue, demand is in the blue line. This gap in here within 10 years, the current market is around a 2 million ton global market. These Wood Mackenzie and other leading analytical forecasts are predicting the market growing to about 3 million tons. The problem is supply sticks and struggles around 2 million tons. So potentially there's a 1 million ton physical nickel deficit evolving in the market. That would apply upward pressure on spot pricing and obviously associated value of nickel-related assets. On to Greenland. What we're trying to prove on the west coast of Greenland on our Maniitsoq project, which is about 100 kilometers north of Nuuk, is to demonstrate that it actually has the potential to host a world-class nickel camp. Analogies for this would be Norilsk in Russia or Sudbury here in Ontario. The economic benefit of Sudbury to the province of Ontario has been estimated at in excess of 400 billion over the last 100 years. So these are some of the richest prizes in resource exploration. And to differentiate NAN from most of the projects we've seen previously, and to be clear to manage expectations, we are still at the exploration stage. We are not at a resource development stage. So we're still looking for the prize. But to understand our commitment, I think at this point we probably have 50 million invested in this project since 2011. It's the opportunity that we're pursuing. These are long-term assets that are our country building. And that's probably a great way to segue to some brief thoughts on Greenland itself. We're very happy to be investing in Greenland. Most of the professionals you meet in Greenland, they're very aware of the opportunity and adventure that Greenland as a country has embarked on. It's independent and it's determined to create a sustainable, diversified economy that can provide better opportunities for their youth than many of them have had themselves or that their parents had. So it's a young country in a massive transition. Professionals that I meet in Greenland have a sense of personal obligation to ensure that evolution continues. Everyone feels that they have a role to play in making the future Greenland a better place. And that permeates the government, the bureaucracy, our supply chain professionals that we deal with. Some of the most fun trips I've had to Greenland when I've been taking senior fund managers and major investors through to introduce them to the asset in the country. And I'm just echoing their responses to me, the positive impression they get from Greenland. They leave with the impression that Greenland is a can-do place. No one's coming up with reasons not to do things in Greenland. People are trying to find reasons to do it. That resonates well with large-scale foreign investors. I don't know that I can do this from this perspective. On the left side jump into some quick technology and geology, and I apologize if there's any geologists or geophysicists in the room because I'm going to grossly simplify things. So the scale of our project is about 3,000 square kilometers. I drew that analogy to Sudbury and the 400 billion benefit to Ontario. The project is approximately the same size as Sudbury, 100 kilometers north-south by 20 or 30 kilometers east-west. There are literally hundreds of prospective geological occurrences within that belt. On the left here, we show a cross-section of one of these zones that we've been following, and it's indicative of our strategy for a number of years. And I'll use this because I'm going to show our change in strategy. Each of these little squares that you see here are computer models of the ability of the ground to have very high conductance of electricity. It essentially relates to, it's a geophysical indirect detection of ore. You can see the complexity in the geometry, the number of plates, and our strategy was effectively from 2015 to shallow drill test a number of these, the ones that look the best, come back in 16, drill them deeper, come back in 17, drill them deeper, and in this one here, which is referred to as P58 at Fossilic, we've now followed down to I think 600 or 700 meters vertical, and we know it keeps going. But the problem is, while this is spectacular nickel, spectacular grades, spectacular mineralogy, it's not economic on its own. we see this as we're hoping that this is a vector, and what we need to know is where this comes from, or where it gets thicker and bigger. But the challenge for the project is there's literally hundreds of these types of occurrences. So it's a game of rapid prioritization, trying to find the tip of the iceberg as to where an economic accumulation of nickel is. The red dots that are shown here are actually pierce points of drill holes. And my eyesight's not good enough to read the numbers by years. We have on our team, we have a geophysicist, Sharon Taylor, who's one of the best people in the world at creating these models and simulating, predicting where they should be drilled. And she might even be better than I think, because there's a big advantage to hitting the edges of these things rather than hitting in the middle. If, oops, let me go back one. Other way. If you hit in the middle, you get more information about what you've missed, the potential to go and find more. Or sorry, if you hit at the edge. If you hit in the middle, you get a better news release. You get more nickel, it's thicker, you get a better representation of the actual mineralization. But by drilling the edges of these plates, we actually effectively increase our ability to see a diameter around this. And it's key for us, like our minimum economic model here is around 10 million tons at 2%. And we use that to space our drilling because we know that using these same techniques that can go down the drill holes and see these conductive plates, that effectively we can explore in a diameter around each drill hole up to around 200 meters for our minimum economic size. I'll come back to this maybe a little bit later, but this is our strategy 2015, 2017, and I'll very quickly go into our 2018. How much time do I have, Anna? Could you stand up? It's quick? Okay, dang. Some highlight drill holes historically. These are spectacular drill results. Maniitsoq, 75 meters, 1%. Fossilic, that we're going to focus on here today, 10 meters at 3%. This is spectacular stuff. I'm not going to have time to actually tell you about it. But basically, this is first vertical derivative of gravity. These red areas are high-density rocks. What we've shown to ourselves is that high magnesium, which is high density, if you look at copper, nickel combined, over 0.5%, 1%, this is your ore zone. Sorry, back again. That's a critical slide. That the main intrusive rock is norite, but not all norites are equal. What we want is high magnesium, norites greater than 10%, which are high density, and this is what's controlling the emplacement of our ore. So we now have multiple vectors in terms of geochemistry, in terms of magnesium content, conductivity in terms of electromagnetics, and density geophysically in order for us to start vectoring and prioritize drilling targets. Probably hard to see this, but that gravity anomaly I pointed to earlier at Fossilic, these are these plates that you saw coming down when I introduced sort of our historic legacy exploration. So we're looking for where did this come from? What you see here is MGO or density in purple plots coming down from the 2018 drilling. So the 2018 drilling results, 4 deep holes in this fossilic intrusive, didn't intersect the ore body, but have confirmed the presence of this high magnesium norite. And we have run borehole EM probes down it. Unfortunately, again, these are now 200 meter diameter electromagnetic radius, the detection of a 10 million ton ore body around this drilling. This hasn't provided us with a vector in terms of where to go. So in this, if we're looking for the origin of P58, we still don't know where it is to the limits of the drilling that we've applied so far. This is a focus on one intrusive, like I say, of the dozens. Going forward, we're going to continue our systematic exploration. We're going to continue to apply it to Maniitsoq and continue to acquire additional prospects within Greenland. Just in closing, I congratulate the Greenland government. I hope NAN can play a role in helping them to achieve their goals as an independent country. And thank you.